Have you ever seen this picture? If not, today will be the day that you will learn about the weird blue picture and why it actually changed my entire life, and I'm sure that it has the potential to transform the way you look at the world too. Because today we will talk about how little things tend to ruin our day, maybe sometimes our life. Because we overvalue little things. When something goes wrong, for example, we are missing the train, which happens quite often here in Germany, or we're dropping something, we spill a cup of tea, something like that. Just things that didn't go as planned, and we tend to get super mad about them and let that ruin our entire energy and ruin our entire day. And when I say it ruins our energy, it is like, imagine you have a full battery each morning when you wake up, some days more than others, but you tend to have a full energy, right? And when something like this happens right in the morning, it seems like it's sucking all our energy away right in the beginning, and we didn't even do anything special. But just because our thoughts are so negative, we are draining our entire energy. And that is actually the key factor. So our own thoughts deplete our own energy. That's why, for example, when we cry and we're done, it feels like we have run a marathon, because it's really also exhausting energetically for the body. So whatever happens, if little things happen in your life and you tend to get mad about the train running late, or getting 5 minutes late to an appointment, or whatever thing it might be, this is something that is out of our control. And that is super important to recognize, because our brain tries to have control about something that it cannot control. So our whole system, like the world we grew up in, it is, in my experience, all about having control over everything. If everything is in your control, everything is running fine and smoothly. But life is not built in this way. Life is a flow, and while we think that we just have to control everything, we build like a dam in a river. So we don't allow the river to flow, because we are trying to force the river, the stream, to run in a direction that is actually, it does not want to go that way. It just wants to be the flowy river, and we try to make it straight or whatever, or build a dam, right? So we are trying to control things that are not in our control. And those things, sometimes I heard that just recently, and that really blew my mind. I forgot who said that, but she basically said, whenever I'm dropping something or I'm running with my head against the door, something like that, it is just a reminder for me to become more present. Because maybe you've noticed this too. If your general goal is just to be more present because you want to worry less about the past and worry also less about the future, it is super important to be present, right? And these little things, running against the door or just hitting our little toe, is just a reminder to come back to the present moment. Because maybe you have had this too. Whenever we are not present, so we are not really here, things like that tend to happen more. So we drop something, we fall, we stumble. Things like that happen when we are completely somewhere else in our head. So it is just a reminder from the universe, or whatever you want to call it, just to be more present, be here in this very moment, and spend attention to where you are right now. And since I heard that, I think it is such a positive reframe, because it's really, if you see things like that just as a reminder, it takes all the pressure away, right? Because we tend to see life as, okay, it all needs to work out. I want it to be perfect. I want there to be no detours. But sometimes life is just not happening that way. And usually, in my experience, in the end, all the detours, all the roadblocks were actually the greatest stories in my life, because they're so funny in the end. Of course, not all of them, but really some of them. So there are 3 things that we need to talk about when we're talking about struggling less with little things. The first one is overreacting to small mistakes. And that is really crucial because our ego tends to attach a big value to minor things. So for example, we are dropping a glass from IKEA. So nothing where we really need to cry about. But our ego makes it super important to, you can never drop a glass because you have to be perfect and it's just ruining whatever. And it makes a whole story about a little thing happening that is not even relevant. You can just get a towel, clean the mess up, and then continue with the day, and you can get a new glass like tomorrow. So it's actually not important. Or you paint your walls in a different color and it's like one tiny bit stain somewhere where you touch the wall with your shoulder accidentally, or you have some paint in your hair, whatever. All these things are usually repairable, so you can get them fixed. But our mind attaches a big value and makes, in German we say, to turn a mosquito into an elephant. And that is really important to keep in mind, because we can ask ourselves, hey girl, is this a mosquito or is this an elephant? There are big problems, like elephant problems in this world, if you want to name them that way. But there are also like tiny mosquito problems that we are turning into a very big thing. And there is a beautiful quote by the Dalai Lama which says, if you think you are too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. And that is so true, because that's just life, right? We have all those little things happening. Nothing really happens if you get bitten by a mosquito, except for, you know, it's like really annoying. And for some of us, this is like a peak experience of emotional breakdown, because it is just making, I think, everyone angry. But if you are in those moments and you can accept that this is happening and just like laugh about it and, I don't know, chase the mosquito out, you know, there are solutions for everything. And this is just a reference for anything happen in your life that is not going in the way that you really want it to. And it's really so important to ask yourself, is my emotional reaction to what I am experiencing right now good? Is it benefiting me? And that's the most important question, actually, to ask yourself. Is this for my best interest to have this emotional reaction to ruin my own day? Because frankly, no one tells us to have such a bad emotion, or such a strong emotion rather, about something small happening. It's just us. It's our emotion, and our emotion is in our hands. So we can decide. We have the power to shift our emotion, and that is really important. The second scenario you want to look at is disappointment. Disappointment usually comes up when things don't go as planned. So we have the perfect date set up with our friends, and we are stuck in traffic jammed, and we are missing that date. Or we're missing a flight, or we have a really special day planned and nothing really works out. And in those moments, it is also the question, how long do you allow the emotion to linger? And also the resilience about the plans you have. Because, for example, you plan a really fancy shopping trip with your friends and you're all like squeezed in one car on the way there. And suddenly you're stuck in traffic for hours. And in that moment, you can really all be upset together. Or, I don't know, pull up a quiz on ChatGPT on how to connect deeper. 50 things that you would never ask your friends usually. Or, you know, things just that bring you closer. So the miraculous thing is, how can you turn any bad situation into a good situation? And that is a skill that is hard to create, but once you are there, it is so beneficial for your entire life, because suddenly you start to see more opportunities than challenges. Whatever happens, everything becomes more beautiful. And for me, this has also been quite a long learning journey, because I went to university in a town that is 2 hours away from where I live. So I would have to be on the train for 4 hours each day just to get to class. And this was really bothering me because, of course, in the middle of winter in Germany, it's really cold. And also this was like a couple of years ago, so I didn't have an unlimited data package where I could just watch a movie, and there are spots in Germany where you don't have any reception, so you could just read a book. But to add more buts, trains in Germany are often super full. So it's 0 degrees outside, 30 degrees inside, and you're standing like squeezed into a corner in a busy train. So naturally, for me, this was 4 hours of my day that felt totally wasted. And I also spent the 2 hours before the train ride and the 2 hours after that absolutely hating everything, because I would be so upset. I would be disappointed in the train running late, or even more late and taking me even longer. I was sad that I couldn't spend this time with my family at home. There were so many reasons for me to get upset. And one day I just decided, how can I turn this thing around? It was a decision because I actively chose that I don't want to feel that bad anymore. I actively chose to use this time to make something good out of it. So of course, there are still times when the train is not coming and it's like you're squeezed in the corner. Of course, that's not easy, but that's not always happening. So on the days where I had like a seat and I had reception or things like that, I just chose to make a research list for me, 10 things that I can do to make my train rides enjoyable. And those 10 things actually changed my life because I finally had time to read. Yes, I can upgrade my data package and I can download things in advance. And reading books on paper is too hard, but I can still do Audible. I found so many solutions suddenly that were helping me create a beautiful time out of this. And that was super important. And from that moment on, I tried to see more opportunities in my life, because there are endless opportunities if we really think about that. And we can turn so many bad things around and change them into a good thing. Before we get to the blue picture, there is one more thing that is really important to talk about, and that is obsessing over what can't be changed. And all of these 3 things, overreacting, disappointment, and obsessing over things that can't be changed, is a key factor in understanding this image that I am about to show you. So obsessing is a natural tendency from the mind to keep spiraling in negative thoughts, to keep focusing on that what is wrong. And this is really also the place where all the emotion comes from. So if we negatively think about one thing intensively for 15 minutes, really put all your effort into it, you will naturally feel bad. But in the same way, if you spend those 15 minutes focusing on the beautiful things of life, imagining like a beautiful vacation that is planned or the beautiful dinner that you're about to cook, because usually we are obsessing over things and allow our mind to go into that direction. But we actually have the power to interrupt this pattern. We can say, stop it. No, don't go there. We can turn another way. And this is not about suppressing our emotions. That is super important. We still want to allow our emotions and our thoughts to come up, because there are actually guides navigating us on our journey. But we can, and it is in our power to say, okay, I'm allowing myself to think about this for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but from a perspective of actually solving the problem. Of course, when our emotions tend to bubble up, it's not really the space where, okay, I can think about problem solving right now, but you're like, oh my gosh, you are so stuck in your emotions that you don't see any solutions. So there is a time and space where you allow your emotions just to flow, to let them go, and then come back to the positive things. So what can you do about that situation to turn it into something good, or exit the situation, or look for a plan B that is the second best alternative. And if you go there from a space, I know that I will make it good. I know that there are beautiful things that I can make out of this. You actually create space for ideas to flow into your life. And that is really magical. Once you get there, that you have beautiful emotions, you have beautiful ideas. So this is the picture of the pale blue dot. It's actually the picture that was taken in 1990. And to this day, it's the most furthest away picture that has ever been taken from the Earth. It was taken 6 billion kilometers away from the Earth. And if you look at this picture, you can see a tiny pale blue dot. And you can check this picture out on the NASA website to see it in full, like bigger version. But this is so beautiful. And I also have this like in my home office and also in my office at work. And it's really such a beautiful reminder that whatever happens in relation to the universe, is it really that important? Because it really puts a different perspective onto our life. We often think that whatever is going wrong right now is the most important thing in our life. But if we look at this picture and see that you cannot even see that this is the planet Earth on this picture. You cannot see a country, you cannot see any humans. So all of the things that are happening right now, things that are going wrong, may be just like a drop in the ocean. It's just a tiny little thing in the universe. And compared to that, it gives you a new perspective. This is such a beautiful concept to think about and to keep in mind. This is why I have this printed out too, because when you're so stuck in your emotions and you feel like you're not getting out of there and you are ruining your own day because of some small thing happening, you can remind yourself of this picture and ask yourself, like, comparing to the size of the universe, is this really so important? And also, will I still remember this moment in time 10 years from now? Or even 1 year from now? Will I remember dropping that glass on my new pillowcase that I just bought? Or ruining my shirt or whatever? And usually the answer is no. So if we allow ourselves to have this perspective, it is actually so beautiful to see what creates, what evolves from this new perspective, because oftentimes it's just a different perspective that we need to totally change our emotions. 2 weeks ago, I was on vacation in Switzerland, and I was at this tiny little supermarket in the middle of the Swiss mountains. And I just wanted to get some bread, some jam, and I don't know what. So 3 little things, but I saw so many nice things on the way, like a postcard that I really wanted. And so I had like all my arms packed with these things. And while I was going to the cash out, I dropped the entire full glass of jam onto the floor. And in the first moment, I felt so embarrassed because I also didn't know what to do. I just stood there and did nothing until I finally saw a really helpful woman, and she was working there, and she was so kind and helpful, and she, cleaned it up and didn't really allow me to help her. So I was just, picking up some glass here and there, but she did all the work, which was super kind. And in that moment, I realized that I could just stand there, be super ashamed, and just ask myself, why didn't I just take a stupid basket instead? But this experience actually turned into something great, because I had such a cute conversation with those supermarket employees, and they even gifted me like a new glass of jam, which was so cute. And like just experiencing this kindness made my heart so full. So whatever happens, we might not know what good thing might come out of that eventually. So we have to have trust that all things just happen for a good reason, and sometimes we can just learn from them, right? So I am very sure that anytime I will go shopping now, just if I need one thing, I will take a basket. And I know that all these concepts that we are talking about, they are not really easy to apply. They just take time and effort over a consistent period of time to make them a habit, because we really need those small little steps. One day we can celebrate ourselves because something doesn't go as planned, and we, even 1% figure out that this is not even worth having negative emotions about this. So it's not really about changing everything from today to tomorrow, but having those little things, those little steps, in order to just take it with more lightness, take it with more ease. And this will really evolve over time, and kind of, if you take all the pressure out of this to make it, I can't allow myself to be mad, I cannot allow myself to be angry when something goes wrong, that creates more resentment, and that resentment turns into more negative emotion. So also this acceptance of it's totally fine. If something goes wrong, that is totally okay. If I have emotions about this is also fine. The best thing that can happen for me is when I learn from that situation, have kind of more fun in that situation going forward, and also asking myself, okay, why is this happening for me? How can I be more aware? How can I be more present? Is there something that I can take away from this? And also, it is really about just finding a way for you that works for you, things that help you. So whenever that's gonna happen for you over the next couple of weeks, just see how you react to that and take the action steps that we discussed here. Because if you remember the pale blue dot, right, the picture that we just looked at, it is so important to just shift your perspective from the little things, like the little human you are in this huge universe, to really do this bird's eye perspective on your life and actually view it from that point of view. Just look at your problem as if you were floating in the middle of space. You couldn't even see it from up there. And that's not minimizing it, but it's just taking a new perspective on your problems. And what we also talked about is becoming the boss of your emotions, because it's in your hands, and it's also within your responsibility to actively choose your emotions, to let them flow, to let them out. That is super important. But to choose what you're thinking about, and by choosing what you think about, you focus on something different and immediately also feel better. If those are thoughts of gratitude and happiness, it does not mean, okay, something goes wrong and I now have to think happy thoughts. That's not really the case. But there's always something beautiful in that situation. There's always something to be grateful for. And even if it's just a little thing to be grateful for, that is just authentically shifting your emotion. Maybe you've heard this when you feel really sad and someone says, okay, just smile for 10 minutes, but you're like, in the first few minutes, you even feel grumpy because you have to smile. But after those 10 minutes or 5 minutes that you smiled, you feel good. You start to feel lighter just because your body changes, your thoughts change, and it's a gentle shift. So be really mindful of how you're feeling and of how you are guiding yourself through situations that are outside of your control. If you have any questions at all, just let me know down below and I would love to help you. Also, if you have any topics that you want us to discuss, leave them also down below and I will be happy to record a video for you. And this is super important. I'm speaking about these things because they are my experience, and just there's a couple insights into my life of what I learned and what I thought is super helpful. And I'm so happy to share them with you, and I hope it helped. See you soon.